Okay, Mama C, tell me your story in MCCDC.
Well, in the beginning, I had a hard struggle with God, so I really didn't go to church after I left my mother's home, and she reared me Catholic for 20-some years, except for to go to a wedding or a funeral. And then I was out, and this young lady asked me to come to her choir sing. And I said, oh, I don't know. And so she insisted that they had a nice choir and I should really come. So I decided that I would go. And when I went, the church was at 415 Elm Street Northwest at the time. And it was just a regular house. And so when I got there, it was a door right as you came around to it. And I was knocking and beating on the door, and it was locked. Little did I know that was the entrance where the altar and the crucifix and everything was. And so this gentleman, Dr. Dan Inglejohn, came around the corner with the biggest smile, and he said, "Are you trying to get in, young lady?" And I said, "Yes." And when I got in there, you know, I was a new face, so everybody kind of turned around and looked. But I sit down in the corner quietly, out of the way, hopefully, and so I wouldn't be noticed. And Esther, they sang, and I love music, so I really enjoyed the singing. And then I watched them as they did communion, and it was really, I mean, I knew about communion because I was raised as a Catholic, but it was so personal, and it was so, I can't even explain it then, and I can't explain it now, but it was just so personal that it was something so different about this that I kept saying, this is really odd. People praying over you, they actually look like they mean it, and but I still wasn't convinced that I was a church person going to church. And so she dropped me off home, and then she invited me back for a service the following Sunday. Well, I am in 12-step program, and it was a meeting down at 5th and K, right there at the Metropolis Club. And so it was at 10:30, so I said, I'll go to meeting first and get my nerve up, and then I'll walk over to the church. And so that's what I did. But when I got there, I did remember not to knock on the altar door. And so I opened the door, and as the Lord would have it, at that time I didn't know the Lord would have it, but the Lord would have it. I opened the door, and this person that I knew from program was sitting right in the chair at the door. Now, I am a pretty voluptuous woman. And I jumped through the door and jumped into the guy's lap. And the people in the row, I guess they say, he's not going to take this for a whole hour. So they moved down, and he put me in the seat next to him, literally, because I was holding on to him and almost choking him for his last breath, because here I was in this church, and I did not know whether the church was going to fall in or down or anything. So when I settled in, I was just so nervous and all of that, and I just couldn't believe that, you know, I was there, and I came on my own. And when communion time came, she came and got me. Well, by then I was like a zombie. I was just following people or following her. But again, the communion just touched my heart so, and you know, made me know, because I truly believe, because of my childhood and what I had gone through, that I could prove to you virtually that God, there was a God, that he might have been a God for other people, but he definitely wasn't for me. And so to be there and to feel something different was really completely odd for me. So I still went to the meeting every Sunday, and I still would come to her church and meet her. And to be honest, in the beginning, I really was only interested in meeting her. But then, you know, as it grew on me, I wanted to go. I looked forward to going to the meeting and then coming to the church. And after being here a while, I didn't really say anything, and I'm really a person that talks and like to talk. But I didn't say anything. I kept quiet, and I didn't participate in what they call the tithing. I didn't give any of my treasures. I didn't talk to people. I didn't let people know who I was, and I wasn't really trying to find out nobody's except for the person that had invited me, Esther. But as the time went on, and the more I learned, and the more I saw how people was changing, to me, it became like another 12-step program, but more spiritual, because that was my life. I kept saying I was spiritual at the time, but it just became more and more into my life. And then, like I said, I gave nothing of myself, and I definitely didn't give tithing except for $1. So because I said I wasn't letting no organized religion take my money and do with it what it wanted to. But Reverend Candace Schultz did a sermon about giving what you could, and giving of yourself, and giving the gifts that God had gave you, and that God gives us all gifts. And I know one of my really special gifts is that God gave me a gift to cook. And at the time I was working, I was a cook, but I also had my own small catering business. And I had a son, so I worked 3 and 4 jobs just to make sure that he had what he needed. And what I needed actually is a place to live and some food on the table. And so then they had this big picnic, and they had a judging of the food, and Esther put my pot up, which was homemade baked beans, and I won the first prize. But they didn't know who had made it, because I didn't put my name on it, because I didn't want nobody to know anything about me, much less that, And I mean, baked beans, who judges baked beans and win a first prize?
We do. MCCDC.
And so, here go Esther, she go running, that's Cecelia.
She told on you.
Yes, and then so everybody said, oh my God, these are the best baked beans, and blah, blah, blah. And so after that, I started bringing a little bit to fellowship, and then everybody got to really know me. And then Pastor asked me to do a special guest was coming. She asked me to do a dinner, and it was a kind of simple dinner. But when they got down there, she thought she was at a hotel, because I had just made the tables and stuff and did fans for the thing. And she said, oh my God, you really do know how to do this. And that was the end of my being anonymous.
That's not a bad thing.
And so from there, I've always tried to share wherever I could. I don't like to lead too much, but I tell a person, if you need some help, I'll help wherever I can and whatever I can do. And when I lead a project in cooking or whatever, like the project of doing the 45th anniversary history for the 20 plus years of the history of the church, the best I could, is really something that I try to put everything in, because I want it to be as informational as possible. Of course, it was interesting because I haven't been here 45 years, but there's one person that I know that he's my play brother. He's retired and he moved to North Carolina, but he's been here 45 years, and he told me a lot. And Esther's the oldest person in this area, I think, at least in our church, with time. And so since I've been living with her for almost 30 years, she told me a lot of things. And even with my, next year, I came here in 87, so next year will be my 30th year. But I didn't join until 89. But I thank God that I'm 70, in my 70s, quote, going backwards, that he has allowed my mind to be active. He's allowed my body to be active, that I am still able and willing and want to work for him. And this 45th anniversary has been a lot of work. I congratulate the whole committee, and Reverend Kathy and Canute and everybody that has worked on it, and I thank God for the little piece that I'm trying to put together that I'm able to do. I know that for me, that anything I do in this church is for the love of Jesus and God, my Holy Spirit. Anything that I have that bothers me, I'm able to go to whomever it is and say what I need to say. God has given me the gift of gab, as you probably can tell from this video. I talk a lot. I always have some crazy joke or some crazy saying to say, you know, if you don't use your talents or your gifts, you're going to lose it, or something like that. That's me. That's me. I'm Mama C, and my filter been gone for about 10 years. I say what I need to say.
And that's fine.
And I say, and I love my people. I love my pastors. I love my children here. I call them all my children. My sons and my daughters. They're just my heart. And anything that I need or want done, all I got to do is ask, and I get that help. And not many people live to have that kind of connection with people in any place. And to be in a big church and everybody knows you. Even new people, when like the new man that started today or yesterday, the other guy said, when I said good morning to him, he came out, he said, "This is Mama C. This is who I was talking about." So, I mean, that is such a gift that people love you. And I know that's only Jesus, only God, because the gift that he gave me was this church. And that I could have him as a gift. And I am very, very grateful and thankful for that. There is no words to express or explain to anybody what I feel or how I feel about this church and the Jesus in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama.